thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Natasha. Welcome to my channel. It is a rainy day here in Charleston, very cloudy. You might hear some thunder in the background. We're just gonna do the best we can with what we have. Today's video is going to be a part 2 to a video I just put out last Wednesday. That video was the 5 hardest products to pan or finish up. And I got a really great response from that video. A lot of people said they wanted to see a video where I talk about the easiest products to pan or use up. So that's what I'll be talking about today. I actually have more than 5. I think this video would be helpful for people who are trying to start project panning, or you're thinking of starting a new one, and maybe you want to throw some products that might show progress a little bit more quickly into your project pan. Or if you are considering buying some of these products, it'll give you an idea of whether or not the product will actually give you the value for your money, like if it's going to be enough uses for it to be worth it for you. So these are just examples for me. You might go through these a little bit more slowly or more quickly than I did. That's perfectly normal. We all go through makeup at different rates, so just because something's super easy for me to use up, that doesn't mean it'll be the same case for you necessarily. I have 7 products to talk about, so I'm just going to get started. The very first one is the Benefit Erase Paste. And this was either in my first or my second project pan ever that I did last summer. And I had the erase paste for quite a long time. I'd probably had it for like a year at that point, and I had barely made a dent in it just because I wasn't using it very often. And when I put it in the project pan, I imagined that it would take me a lot longer to use it up. However, once I started using it regularly, I found that it went pretty quickly. What I would do is I would take a pair of tweezers and I would take the opposite side, so the other end of it, and I would kind of just scoop out a teensy little bit, maybe like, I don't even know, 1/8 of a pea size, like a tiny amount, and then I would use that to apply underneath my eyes. And it was the perfect amount. I didn't feel like I was overusing it or underusing it. I was using a healthy amount. It just still went really quickly. I know the erase paste has new packaging. It might have a new name also, I'm not entirely sure, but it's still in the $20 range for that little pot. I'm using the NYX pot concealer, and it seems to be going at a similar pace, but it's way cheaper. It's like maybe $7 or $8, and I can definitely understand going through that a little bit more quickly, and I don't feel as bad. I still feel like I'm getting good value for my money. And I do want to point out, I only use those for under my eyes. I don't really use concealer on my face very often. So the potted concealers, for some reason, I go through those very quickly. The next product I want to talk about is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. And I put this in a project pan. I just wanted to use it more. I just wanted to show some progress on some shadows. I didn't really have any specific goal. I just thought if I can hit pan on a couple shades by the end of the project, then that'd be good. And I do like the formula of the Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows. I think they're very soft and buttery. That's what I prefer in an eyeshadow. I hit pan on this on 4 shades within a few months' time. They're all relatively neutral shades or mid-tone shades. They're not the super dark ones. Those ones take me a little bit longer to use up or show progress on just because I don't use them as often, and I don't use as much when I apply it. But the crease shades, the shimmery shades, the cream, I use those pretty quickly, and I don't mind. I still feel like I used it quite a bit before I started hitting pan on products, and it's a palette that I still think is worth my money. I think it was still a good value for my money. The third product is the Benefit What's Up highlighter stick. Before I put it in a project pan, I barely used it just because I don't really like using cream highlighters on the tops of my cheeks. I don't like using it on my face. However, once I started using it on my collarbones and like on my shoulders when I wore more low-cut tops during the summertime, I ended up going through it pretty quickly, and I even started using it on my face later on just because I found different ways to apply it that didn't disturb the makeup underneath. So it actually ended up being something I really enjoyed using on my face too. I ended up loving using that highlighter stick so much that after I finished it, I introduced the Clinique Hefty highlighter stick as well into a different project pan. And once again, I used it on my collarbones, I used it on my face, I used it sometimes on my shoulders when I wore like strapless shirts, and I ended up going through them really quickly. And I also discovered that I love using cream highlighter sticks. It's something I never really bothered to use, and now that I know how much I like them, I'm actually buying more and using them. I'm using a ColourPop cream highlighter right now and really enjoying it. So not only did the project pan help me use up products that were getting old, but also showed me that those are products I really enjoy using and can fit into my routine. The next product is the NYX #ThisIsEverything Lip Balm. I raved about this just a couple videos ago in my Gems in the Drugstore video, and I do really enjoy this. I wish it was easier to get my hands on. I feel like I can only get it from the NYX website or from actual NYX stores, which I don't have any near me in Pittsburgh. I think I go through lip balms pretty quickly in general. I just talked about 3 empty lip balms in my April empties video. When it comes to potted lip balms, I just don't feel like it's necessary for me to spend like $20–30 on a fancy lip balm. A $5 one is just fine. fine. I'm gonna use it up at the same rate, so I'd rather go through cheaper ones instead of more expensive ones. The next product I want to talk about is the NYX Powder Foundation. I talked about this in my first video, my products I've been pan on video, and in that video I talked about how I burned through it. I feel like I go through most pressed powder foundations relatively quickly, but something about the NYX one just went so fast. I think a combination of it not being full coverage, and so I kind of have to pile on a couple layers in order for it to give me the coverage I want, and also it's just a more powdery formula, so more stuff kicks up, more product ends up getting on your brush when you apply it. It's $14, which is, I guess, pretty mid-range for powder foundations. There are certainly a lot more that are way more expensive and some that are more affordable, but I don't get to use it enough for it to be worth the $15. The next product is the Kevyn Aucoin Celestial Highlighter. I had this in a project pan. I just wanted to hit pan on it, and I did way faster than I thought. It's a beautiful subtle highlight, so you can actually apply a lot more than maybe you could for a really blingy highlight. I can put it really anywhere and it's not going to be too much, so it's something that I definitely applied a lot of, and it is a more powdery formula, so you have to be careful not to pick up too much product on your brush when you're applying it. It's $44 though, so it's still a lot of money for a natural highlight. Even though the formula is beautiful, I would definitely compare it to the Hard Candy Tiki bronzer. I think they're very similar enough for me to want to buy the Hard Candy one over the Kevyn Aucoin one. With consistent use, I feel like I used it up really quickly, and I just feel like it's not worth the $44 to buy again. And the very last product is the Nars Laguna bronzer. I just talked about this in my last video about products that were the hardest to use up. I compared it to my Bobbi Brown bronzer. That one took me over 3 months to hit pan on it, while the Nars Laguna one only took 1 month. I feel like they're pretty comparable because they're the same amount of product in both, and they are similar in price as well. And even though the actual pan for the Nars bronzer is a little bit wider than the Bobbi Brown one, I still feel like I hit pan on it way more quickly than I normally would. Even though I do use a lot of bronzer when I apply makeup, and it's something that is relatively easy for me to use up, hitting pan on a bronzer after 1 month is insane. That's way too fast. Especially considering that it's a more expensive bronzer, it's definitely something that I don't think is worth the money for me personally. And those are the products I have to share with you today. If you do have an Instagram or a blog or a channel or something, and you end up doing something with this video idea, please let me know and I'd love to come see it. And of course, if you have any products that you ended up using way too quickly or just weren't worth the money for you because of how quickly you used it up, please let us know in the comments. I'd be really interested to see what your answers are. But in the meantime, that's everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!